Hello my friends, welcome to Pro Strings. I'm Henriette and this is lesson 10 in the violin class for beginners, which uses the Crickboom method. It's lovely to see you here today, and we're going to move on today learning our left hand fingers. So in the previous lesson we learned our first finger. Today we're going to learn our second finger, and we're going to use the book. And if you've got the red version of the book, this one, we are going to be working on exercise number 16, which you can find on page 14. So let's get it ready. If you use an older version of the book, this is my ancient version, and you can find the exercise that we're learning today as exercise 24 on page 5. So let's have your book ready. We're going to start with some warm-ups, but then we'll need it very soon. So when you're ready, let's pick up your violin and your bow. And you may remember that in the previous lesson, we wrote a finger line on your hand. Now, that might be a good idea to do that again if it's washed off since the previous lesson. And where do I place my finger line? And my finger line is just that crease where my index finger is attached to my hand. We need that finger line to position our hand in the proper place near the E string, which I'll show you. So if I've got my violin up on my shoulder, my finger line is there just next to the E string, and you might see it better like this. So that's where my finger line is, and I'm using this finger line just to gauge that your hand is not too low below the fingerboard, or that your fingers are not too high up above it. Okay, so that is quite a precise placement of your finger. So your finger line is precisely level with the E string. So when I've got my finger line in place, let's then check our thumb, because my thumb is upright like that, but it is soft. It's not squeezing the neck of the violin here. It's just laying here gently. Okay, and then thirdly, we are checking our space for our tennis ball. You can probably imagine that you could put a tennis ball here, an imaginary tennis ball, and that brings my wrist out. So your wrist is more or less straight here, okay, and your fingers are curved. Now I'll show you what happens if I forget about this tennis ball. If my fingers are, if my hand is flat here, my fingers point that way. Whereas if I add that little tennis ball, see what happens to my fingers? They come towards the strings, and that is where we need them, isn't it? So just try that again, so you can really feel the difference. This way my fingers are made to point away from the strings, and now I want to push my wrist this way a little bit, and that brings my fingers close to the string. Now, let's practice placing our first finger. And that sets us up very nicely for practicing the second finger in a moment. So I'm grabbing my bow. I'm just double checking this hand position one more time. So my finger line is level with the E string. My thumb is upright, just peeking over the edge. About half a nail is sticking up above the fingerboard. And then there is my tennis ball. Now let's play an open A string with a long bow. Then pause a second to get our first finger in place. Here we go. And A. Stop. Place your first finger. See if you can get it in more or less the same place as where I've got it. We've said in the past that it's about a finger space away from the beginning of the string. Can you see that? So it's not right there, but it's a little bit up. Let's practice that again, shall we? Open A. Pause for a moment. Place your finger. Listen carefully. Stop. Lift your finger up. We'll practice that a few more times. Place your finger. One more time, take your finger away and place it. And now let's place our second finger, which is a space away from the first finger. So here we go, let's hear what that sounds like. Stop for a moment, lift that second finger up. Stop, place your second finger. Stop, lift it up one more time. And place it. And give your arm a really well-deserved rest. Well done. That's really good progress there. So you might find that, because it's quite a different movement from whatever you do in everyday life, you might find that quite a strain on the arm, which is quite normal. Lots of people will be swinging their arm with us right now. So you want to take regular breaks when you practice that, because that is really hard on the muscles. But you're making progress, that's the main thing, isn't it? Now let's take a look now in our books, and you can see there that there is what's called a dotted minim. That's a 2-count note which has a dot. Now a dot after a note in music means you add half as much again. So we have got a 2-count note, a minim, or in America that's called a half note, and you add a dot. Altogether that becomes 3 beats, and then we have a beat rest in which we adjust our fingers. We either add a finger or take a finger away. So there's always still this break between between each of the notes, so that gives you time to place your fingers. Now we know what the B looks like, the first finger. The next note up, which is called C sharp, which is that second finger that we've just played, is called C sharp because notes go like the alphabet. So we've got A, B, C, except this is just a slightly altered version of a C. We call it C sharp. I won't go into any detail why right now. We'll do that at a different time. But you have got, you can see that C sharp is in between the next 2 lines. So one note is on top of the line, which is the B, on top of the center line of the stave. And the C sharp is just one space up from there, so it's in between 2 lines, which means if you have one note through a line and the next note in between the next 2 lines, it's one step up from the previous note. Okay, so we can hear that the C sharp is a tone higher than B. Now, shall we play this exercise then? Have your violin up again once your arm is rested. Check over your finger line, your thumb and your tennis ball. And we're starting on that B, so let's place our finger right there. And off we go, after 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, rest. Place your second finger a space away and rest. Take your second finger away for a first finger. Rest. Place your second finger again. Rest. 1. Rest. Awesome, awesome. Now you may have noticed that while I play the second finger, I leave my first finger on the string. So I'm not playing like this. Okay, I'm leaving my finger down and I'm adding my second finger to the first finger. You also might want to check that these 2 fingers, they're not here, but they are sort of hovering like that. So you always have your fingers in an energetic way above the fingerboard. So if you find yourself playing like that, see if you can loosen up that hand and raise your fingers a little bit. Shall we play this exercise again? So check over your finger line, your thumb and your tennis ball. Place your first finger. Ready? And rest. Place your next finger. Leave your first finger in place. Rest. Take your finger away. Rest. Place your second finger. Remember, fingers 3 and 4 hover. Rest, take your finger away. Rest, second finger. Awesome, very good. And take a break again. Very nice. So we're building stamina all the time whilst we give our arm a little bit of rest. Good. Now, some of you may find that whilst you're focusing on the left hand fingers, your bow is starting to shake a little bit. That's a very common occurrence, and I'll show you in a moment what you can do about this. So if that is you, perhaps you can do this exercise with me, and we're just going to practice on an open string. The shaking occurs usually sort of at the upper middle section of your bow. And shaking is often due to tension in your right shoulder or your right upper arm. So I'll show you an exercise now how you can learn to relax that right shoulder and right elbow so your upper arm becomes more relaxed. So let's play an open A string, and let's stop when you feel the shaking coming on. So I'm playing here, and then quite a lot of the time it happens here. It wants to go shake. So when you're getting to that point, stop, drop your shoulder down, drop your elbow down, soften up your upper arm if you can manage, and then continue your bow stroke. That's what it is. Let's do it again, shall we? Start right here. When you feel the shaking coming on here, stop your bow, drop your shoulder, drop your elbow, and continue your bow stroke. Shall we do that one more time? Now this time you can perhaps anticipate the shaking coming on and drop your elbow and your shoulder as a prevention. Okay, here we go. And drop it, drop it, drop it. And I'm hoping that would have improved the shaking. I totally understand, and I'm totally sympathetic to the fact that there is no time to think about your shoulder and your elbow while you're working with your left hand fingers. So that is totally acceptable. What you want to do is practice this open string exercise alongside your left hand exercises. So do alternate them so that you start to integrate eventually those techniques. And I totally get it when people say there is so much to think about, and yes there is, but not all at once. We take it one step at a time, as you may have noticed, and hopefully towards the end of this course you'll think nothing of it anymore, whereas at this stage it's probably quite a challenge. So let's practice our exercise again using the second finger. And this time, I would like you to start anticipating what each new note is going to sound like. Now, that is in itself quite a challenge, but I'll talk you through. If we have an A, so let's check over our finger line, our thumb and our tennis ball. Let's play this A. You might actually already know what the B is going to sound like, namely and now I want you to sing this note either out loud or in your head, and then check it once you place your first finger if that was right. Let's practice that again. Shall we? Take your finger away. A. Now try to imagine what that B will be called, what that B will sound like. Shall we practice that one more time? Open A string. Okay, now this is our starting note of our music example of today. So let's find it. And let's start on this B. And now we're starting singing the second finger in advance, okay? So here's our B. Take a break. place your finger. Did that sound the same? So if you're here, oh, it doesn't quite sound right, does it? That's where we need to be. Or if you've been too far away, ooh, keep your finger a little bit closer. Okay, let's go back to the first finger now. This is the beginning of our exercise again. First finger. Pause, place your finger. Take your finger away, see if you can imagine what that note sounds like. Do, po. One more time. B. Rest. Do. Awesome, really good. You don't have to be a great singer. I'm not after a quality sound in your singing, but I just need you to imagine that pitch, and that is the magic bullet in violin playing. You can play in tune if you can imagine the notes in your head. So let's practice this one more time, and then let's see if we can add some other stuff to your playing as well. Can you get your stance right maybe? Or if you already had your stance right, can you check over your bow hold? We haven't got much time now to think about that bow hold. That's why we've spent so much time on the bow hold in the previous lessons, but you might come back to it now and think, can I integrate one more thing? Right, check over your finger line, your thumb and your tennis ball. Let's play. Let's place that B. That's our starting note. Ready? After 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. Stop. Place your finger. Stop. Take your finger away. Stop. Imagine your note. Place your finger. Stop. Take your finger away. Stop. That's coming along very nicely, isn't it? You have made super progress today. Well done. Now, when we practice our left hand, we want to reinforce the flexibility in your left hand a little bit. So let's now take a look at our left hand plucking exercise. So put your bow away for a moment and place your violin up on your shoulder again. Let's stick our thumb here in the corner there. Bring your elbow under the violin and let your fingers go straight up and over so that you can reach your pinky towards the G string. If you can't reach it, bring your elbow further under. Okay, and we're going to pluck each of the strings 4 times. The G string with your pinky, the D string with your ring finger, the A string with your middle finger and the E string with your index finger, starting with your pinky. Here we go. And ring finger now. Middle finger. Index finger. Lovely job. Swing your elbow so that your shoulder opens up again. You get nice and loose. And let's bring that elbow further under again. And we'll repeat the exercise. Pinky for G and ring finger for D. Middle finger for A. Index finger for E. And give your arm a really good swing, your elbow. Lovely job. Okay, let's give your arm a good rest and we're going to finish with our violin with no hands exercise, because all that time we want to strengthen the muscles in our neck as well. So for our final exercise of this lesson, shift your violin sideways onto your collarbone. Yeah, we don't want to be here at all. So slide it to the side. There we go, so that this corner of your jaw is over the chin rest. Then feel a comfortable fit. And let's hold it just like that. Lovely. You should relax your neck. Shake a little bit of no. Shake a little bit of yes. There we are. And now let's try holding it again, slightly longer. Can you manage that? Wow, look at that. Awesome. So, take another break. And this time we're going to try and hold it for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Aren't you just awesome? Really well done. Give your shoulders a really good shake. Turn them forwards and backwards. And I thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. Taking time out of your day to follow this course. I'm well pleased with your progress. I very much look forward to seeing you in lesson 11. But for now, goodbye.